In this video, traders, let's look at 3 ways to get long on a market you're bullish on. Stay tuned. Hey traders, warm welcome to you. All right, so one of the traps I feel that we all jump into or fall into, fall into, is we believe that when we see a market, we think it's bullish, it's just going to go from bottom left to top right, and it's just going to be a massive trend environment. And we think, great, we're just going to get on this, and it's going to fly to the high side, and I'm going to choose to come out, I'm going to make loads of money, everyone's going to be happy. And I know when we think about it objectively, like, it's not really going to happen, but we often do think that, right? We look at a chart and go, yeah, I'm expecting it to go here, and we don't really think that it could do a lot of kind of shenanigans and oscillating around and backfilling on the way to doing that. And so this often catches us out. And so one thing I want to kind of challenge you to do is to think a little bit differently about the market you're trading, and think about different ways that you could potentially get long your market. And so something I do is look at a chart and go, hey, I like that. I think, you know, I'm very much a trader who has a target and then reverse engineers the idea to get to that target. I find that I work better when I say, hey, that's my magnet, this level, and the price is here. I'm expecting it to hit that. How can I get long that market? How can I express that idea? And very often that answer is honestly, I can't yet. I just don't see a good level to get at yet. But this is when you start to think about how the trade and the chart might play out, and then position for that. So for example, we might say, okay, listen, I think the price is going to go, let's say, okay, let's reverse engineer how this could happen. Let's imagine this was your target, right? Fine. And along the way, this is how the kind of price develops. And so you might look at it here and go, oh, I think it's going higher. You know, shall I buy it? And so you might not expect price to do this. You wouldn't expect it actually, because if you bought there, you wouldn't, because you're probably gonna have a stop down here and you're gonna get pinged, and it's actually the last hour rally that does it. So this is, you know, trading's not always perfect. We know this is a kind of the obvious statement of the century, but things sometimes oscillate around and mess around and do some stuff. So your job is to think of different ways to get long, different ways to express that idea. So you come up with your target here and you say, right, how do I get long now? How do I express that? Maybe at that point there, you don't want to do it. You're like, there's no real setup for me there. We pull back once, pull back twice on the third drive. You know, oh, it's a bit early in the day, I'm not going to do it. And so you start to go, right, how else could I get long? Okay, well, if we have a consolidation at highs, I might then take a break at highs if it's at a certain time period. And so you go, right, here's number one. Here's way one of a better word, to get long, right? A consolidation at highs and a breakout. And so that's one of your ideas. The other idea might be, okay, I want to wait for a support level to buy at. So you're kind of framing the trade into 2 different ways, right? How do I get on a continuation basis? How do I buy at a support basis? Now, personally, depending on the conditions, you know, right conditions for continuation are great, really aggressive trade, no maximum adverse excursion, trade that goes your way. But I think the sweet spot is probably getting momentum that comes back a bit, and you can find some short-term support into that momentum. Okay, so what would that kind of look like? Okay, you say, okay, right, fine. I might take a break of this high. This one didn't work. So whatever your stop management would be, you'll be out of that trade. But imagine if that did work and went to highs, ding, that's a good way of doing it. Okay, now you say, what else? How else could I buy this? You might not. The obvious one that stands out, I'll be going, what about this double bottom down here, Mark? Yeah, great, but let's be honest, this is why I drew it like this. If it had done the highs and nearly hit your target, imagine we were in the black line now, nearly hit your target in reverse, you might think that trade's null and void. You might go, oh, it's not valid. However, is why it pays to have these different ideas and plays all lined up. Because you go, okay, that trade's null and void, but then in that last hour, you see that good drive here, you're like, whoa, hang on a second, this looks like it's coming back up. That's good strength, that's good volume. Imagine that's volume's picked up. Good kind of angle of attack, you know, we have that really kind of acute angle there, that's strong. We've got a little flag here, great, okay, I'm definitely buying a break of that. This is where you kind of come up with the different ideas, and yes, that's very similar to that, but you're kind of saying, okay, I'm going to get long after I've seen the price reject and then go again. I'm going to get long when I do this. And so the 3 ways that you could potentially get long is a good, saying 3 ways to get long is a good phrase to look at when you're looking at a chart. What are the 3 ways to get long on this instrument? Throw my pen around. What are 3 ways to get long on this instrument? Okay, how do I position potentially if that's my price target? Could it be a continuation pattern like the flag? Could it be that I buy at some sort of reversal? I wait for the price to push higher, not quite high enough to hit the target if the trade's gone. Higher, rotate back lower, find some support, I buy that. That's the way number 2. Or do I wait for the last leg and just grab a little high probability chunk? Let's say, I mean, you probably would never do this, but imagine you kind of bought that and said, hey, you know what? There's a little bit of a short-term scalp opportunity there. I think we're going to hit that. I think that's a key level we're going to hit. I can trade that. That's probably a bit tight, but you get the idea. So the framework is the 3 ways to get long. How can I position? And not thinking, I need to get in now, I need to get in now. It's like, what could this price do? Continuation would work well. Pull back to some sort of support level would work well. Maybe a late trade really near the high would work well. Is that a layup trade? And that helps you put things into perspective a little bit more. And very often, you know, I'd like to wait for this type of trade. That's a bit high for me, a bit low for me, sorry. Like I said, if that was kind of here and you were maybe pulling back and then finding some support at that midpoint, that might be, that's probably my preferred type of trade. Where you see the price come in, it doesn't quite get to the level, maybe it's about this kind of level here, I won't want it too high, rejects, come back, finds a little bit of a base around some sort of support or VWAP. You can build the trade around there, then as it starts to break out, you start to go, okay, that looks good, that looks better, looks good. Maybe you want to add if you're an extra aggressive trader, and then kind of pushing into the highs and tagging that level. But that has to be pre-planned. You can't just do that because when you're at this point in time here, you don't see any of that. You just see this high flag here and you go, don't want to take that. I don't want to see it come and fail, rotate back and look for the bigger, deeper rotation. Or do I think this is the momentum trade that's going to go straight off and tag that? If I do, you'll be on it. So 3 ways to get long, good lens to look through and think about when you're looking at the chart. What are the ways? That's the level I think it's going to go to for whatever reason, whatever analysis you've done with that. What are the 3 ways I could express that idea in this chart? How long would I have to wait? How would they have to mature for me to get on that trade? Helps you put things in perspective, helps you stop getting crowded into, I've got to take a momentum trade now, it's going to flag now, it's going to go now. It's like, no, think about this. That's probably going to happen, but how could that happen? What way could it happen? Does it need to screw over some people first, do a drive, come back, push through lows, fake out, and then is it going to go? Because if that's the one you want to position for, that's a much smarter way of doing it than diving straight in off the open on a green candle and going, oh yes, here we go, here we go. 3 ways to get long, good lens to look through. Take care, keep your risk managed, bye-bye.